Hello again, St. Lucia. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. And I'll include fisheries, because today we're dealing with fisheries. My name is Philip Sidney, your host. The Minister for Agriculture have declared this year as Agriculture Year, meaning that so many programs are going to be declared in the ministry helping farmers, fishers. They have already begun in that farmers, banana farmers and plantain farmers have received fertilizers, and also crop farmers, okay? And the fisheries will be getting their share. The fishers are waiting and they will see results. So that is why today we are dealing with the Department of Fisheries to tell us a little more of what the department is doing this year. With me is Sarita Williams-Peter, who is the Chief Fisheries Officer attached to the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Sydney. It's good to be here.
Great. So tell us, we're exploring the Department of Fisheries this year, this financial year. Tell us what is expected of the department.
Okay, so the Department of Fisheries, our mission is to ensure that we have good service to our clients, which includes multiple stakeholders, including our fisher folk. And we want to ensure that we do that in a participatory way so that we include them in the process and we develop sustainably, make sure that it's done environmentally responsible, because that is the resource base.
Right.
And as part of that, we have a few projects lined up for this financial year. We collaborate with multiple partners to support funding, technical expertise, and support, because with a staff of 35, 37 people, it's not possible to do everything. Because you know the fishery sector is a very large sector. I know, though we come after agriculture, but we are a very large sector and very important sector. And so we leverage all of that support to get initiatives done. And for this year, some ongoing projects, but for this year we have some exciting initiatives lined up. That includes the UBEC project, which is called the Unleashing the Blue Economy in the Caribbean. It's a World Bank funded project. They have some agriculture inputs as well, but there are very exciting initiatives for fisheries. Some of them include the continuation of our FAD program and improving the FAD program. I know a lot of our fishers are speaking about the benefits, yes, the benefits of the fish aggregating devices and how it supports the reduction of use of fuel. It really supports them being able to go to one location, fish, and come back quickly to be able to secure their markets on land. We also have improvements in terms of quality. Quality of fish is one of the taboo topics that a lot of us don't speak about. So there will be some initiatives to help improve the availability of ice for our fisher folk at the various landing sites. Also to provide coolers to support ensuring that we have the maintenance of the cold chain from the point of capture right up to the point of delivery to the consumer. So we want to equip our fishers or give them that support to do that. And the third component would be, and this is within this year, the third component looks at the safety at sea. This is a topic that we will never stop speaking about over and over and over again. The safety at sea component, our vision is to have all our boat captains trained and certified at boat masters in compliance with the International Maritime Organization requirements, which is also a requirement of our National Maritime Authority housed in SLASPA. We won't be able to do everybody, but it's a start. It's a start to get our captains well trained, because we want to ensure that they know what they're doing. A lot of them are very competent. Let's give them that. They've learned from others and they can do. But as we expand the blue economy within St. Lucia and we expand opportunities, we want to ensure that our fishers are well capable of navigating that blue space safely and with respect for other boaters and mariners. So that's why we want to implement that as well. There will be some other components of it in the UBEC project, which would include some legislative changes, to improve the sector, as well as some support for other components of the sector.
I know there was some device they had on the boats in terms of tracking. Okay.
Yes.
How did that go?
It's actually going quite well. We've gotten a lot of interest in terms of boating operations and safety, our program on boating operations and safety. That is one of them. We are slower to implement than the interest of the fishers. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to know that the fishers are indicating interest. Boat owners want the device, they want to have it on their vessel. Yes, we have a percentage of owners that are on the fence still, and we respect that. Mm-hmm. But those who want it, we're trying to facilitate ensuring that it's there, and we're trying to set up the institutional structure to support it, which would mean that we would need individuals to properly monitor, to go out and support the fishers if there's need for changing the device or installing it, etc. So we're working on that this year to ensure that we streamline this into the department's program of work.
The activities for this year under the UBEC program, which is 1 year, okay, you mentioned the fishing ports and the ice machines. That will happen under this program?
Yes, so that is going to be happening under this program. It's called under the component 3 of the project, or the program I should say. That component is dealing with sort of food security and quick response to issues within the sector, particularly due to COVID-19 and so forth. So we have 1 year to implement it, so it's a very tight timeline. So that component is 1 year, and the focus is on the FAD development. The focus is also on the refrigeration and getting the standards improved in terms of fish quality. So most of our fisher folk cooperatives have indicated that ice is an important aspect of the fisheries value chain. So we want to make sure that we have the availability of ice at the landing site so that fishers will use it. It's one thing to educate or build capacity to say, you need to have ice, you need to have a cooler, you need to do this or that, but you don't provide support or help the fisher folks adapt. And so that's where the input is being given to help them adapt to the new global situation, where you must make sure that the food you are eating is safe, the quality is good.
Yeah, under the safety measure too, I remember the upgrade of the fish pots themselves at the landing sites, okay, where the cleaners actually cleaning the fish, and that generally was in a mess. And I know they began work, they did some work there. Yes. Is that extended island-wide?
Yes, so under the fisheries policy, and I know we spoke about the fisheries policy on one of our programs, under the fisheries policy, onshore fisheries facilities and auxiliary support is one of the priority areas. And under that, one of the strategies is for us to develop a life cycle maintenance plan for all fisheries facilities. And life cycle maintenance planning means that you're taking a look at the facility and assessing what will need to be done in the next 50 years from now as we go along, a broad viewpoint, so that annually we can plan and prepare and make sure that we address the priority needs. It's counterintuitive to have donor funding to give you a facility infrastructure that costs millions of dollars and allow it to deteriorate. The little bit of money, I mean, I know it's a lot for a small island developing state, but the input and the investment for gradual maintenance will help secure your investment in the long run. So that's why we wanted to give some emphasis to that. And there is also going to be a budget to support infrastructure improvement. We have quite a few pockets of funding to support that as well, not only from the Ministry of Agriculture, but recently we had a discussion with the Ministry of Commerce under the Cooperatives Department, and they also have a pool of funding. So we're working collaboratively to help support improvement of the fisheries facilities.
I noticed a lot of work has been done in Choisey. I know there was a problem with siltation, and that really affected the fishers from going out and coming back in. And that is being addressed now. Tell us about that.
Right, so the fisheries facilities, particularly Choisey, when it was constructed, we had some challenges with sedimentation. As you may be aware, in coastal engineering, once you start interfering with the coast with any type of hard structure, nothing is perfect. And so through investigations, we realized that situation could possibly be averted by having some countermeasures being done. So the government of Japan, through Eco Corporation, supported all the studies, the years of studies that they have done and modeling to come up with a best case situation to improve the situation. So we have Hazama Ado Corporation, who has been contracted from Japan, and they are right now on the ground doing construction works to put in the countermeasures, which is a second groin and a underwater breakwater in the facility that will divert the currents and help improve the amount of reduce the amount of sedimentation coming into the port. So we are hopeful that as soon as these measures are completed, and the plan is for it to be completed in October of this year.
This year? Oh,
yes.
Good.
October this year, the chosen fishers will see some relief. Yes.
In terms of solarization, are you all looking at, especially where you have the refrigerators and the ice machines, using solar? Yes,
so the cooperatives, and which is one of the things that we indeed support, that we have our fisher folk empowered to source their own funding, to go out and look and support themselves rather than only depending on the Department of Fisheries. And that was a very positive thing in our eyes, that they went out and looked for funding support to look at solarization. So right now we are working with them to see how best we can put together this initiative, because solarization, especially if you do it after the construction of your facility, there's a lot that you have to consider. So that there is some funding to look at how can we retrofit and improve the facility to be ready for solarization. So all of that is going to be thrown out. Doesn't mean that the solarization panels will come this year, but the preparatory work will come, and we will see where there is a possibility of going solarization now based on the stage the facility is at, or if we have to do additional works before we can actually implement. But this would be a game changer for many of the cooperatives and their members, because utilities are one of the highest costs for them in terms of managing the facility, because they are responsible. Whilst the fisheries facility itself is the property of the government of St. Lucia, the cooperatives, the cooperative societies have been entrusted to manage the day-to-day operations. And I think it's important to be said that the cooperative will implement rules or regulations on how the facilities are used. So they might charge, for example, to use the washrooms. That money will help support cleaning, buying cleaning supplies, hiring somebody to clean. So we ask our fishers to please.
Hold on, point to what we do for a break.
Okay.
You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Don't go away, a lot to come.
Vessels should at all times proceed at a safe speed, that the captain can take proper and effective action to avoid collision and be stopped within a distance appropriate to conditions and circumstances. Even at slow speeds, your boat will create a wake. Look behind at your wake and be aware of the impact this can have on other boats, people in the water, or the shore. Traveling at the speed shown on the speed restriction sign does not guarantee you are not creating excessive wash. When navigating near, in or through a mooring area, drive slowly and keep the wake to a minimum, and keep a lookout for people in the water, small dinghies, and trailing ropes. To determine a safe speed, take the following factors into account: visibility, traffic density, how easy or difficult it is to move the vessel, including stopping distance and turning ability, state of the wind, current, navigational hazards, and draft. It is also important to always keep a lookout to monitor landmarks, navigational hazards, and the captain's blind side. For more information on obtaining a license to fish, contact the Department of Fisheries at 468-4143.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Of course, we're dealing with fisheries this time, and with me is, of course, our Chief Fisheries Officer, Sarita Williams-Peter. Sarita, we were talking about, which is very, very important, and we are at that point today where we are rehabilitating our fishing ponds, the fixtures. Who, after that is done, who is going to monitor to ensure that it does not get back to the state that it was today?
Okay, good, very good question. So the department had initiated what we call a memorandum of understanding that would formalize the roles of different agencies, formalize the role of the cooperative, so they understood clearly what their role in terms of the management of the facility was, as well as formalize what the role of the Ministry of Agriculture, acting as the government of St. Lucia's role. And we have established a sort of a committee made up of various agencies that would have some interest in the management of these facilities, for example, the Ministry of Infrastructure. And that management committee's role is to provide guidance to the cooperative, as well as providing to the Department of Fisheries priorities in terms of maintenance. And with the life cycle maintenance plan, the department will be able now to use that bit of information to request support and funding for maintenance. And the committee will also be able to support the cooperatives in terms of general guidelines. So for example, one of the things that have been done is to provide the cooperatives with guidelines in terms of a contract for renting out locker rooms, so that it's done properly with good governance, so that if there's an issue, you can address it carefully and it's not done ad hocly. So that would help support structure in the management of the facilities. And that's where the vision is for us to go, that the cooperatives, their board, etc., have a good governance as to how they manage the facilities. They're equipped with the guidelines, so they can use that to support. They have the framework, so they can use that. And the fisher folk understand the roles of the different agencies. So it's not, well, the government built this and I can use it as I please, but the cooperative is there to create some type of order, some type of standard, so that the facility doesn't get back into those deplorable states.
Very deplorable states.
We do not want this to happen, but it takes three of us holding hands, the fishers, the cooperatives, and the ministry, holding hands and being in the same sync as to where we want to go.
So is that the first time that that formula will be instituted?
That is actually the first time that we're doing this in a formal manner and providing the guidance in a formal manner, right? So this would help support the future, because we recognize that there was a bit of ad hoc way we were doing things, and so we're trying to move in terms of streamlining things, improving how we do it. There's a reporting process. The cooperatives play a role, they can voice their priorities. So we have a structure as to how we help and also what we do on the ground in terms of our operations. Because we do not, the facilities are for all fisher folk, not only members, all fisher folk. We realize, of course, that, for example, the locker rooms, we don't have enough locker rooms to serve everybody that wants a locker room. So there has to be a system where you give fairness and you apply equity and equality in giving out the locker rooms. The locker rooms are intended for fisher, particularly boat owners, so they can store their gear, etc. That's who it's intended for. And so the process of getting us back on track is going to be a tough one, but we need to get there.
One of the issues that I'm very happy to hear is coming back on stream, the jetty for Miku.
Yes.
Give us an update on that, because boy, the fishers in Miku, long overdue, eh?
It is long overdue. It is long overdue, and we as a department, we're very happy that there has been some progress in providing the fisher folk with some relief, and we've been supporting the process. We're just waiting to see when we could continue moving along with it. But I think this time around we will have a jetty that's more in keeping with what the needs are and the expectations and the environment of the area. So we're on stream with that, and we're hoping that we can get this done as quickly as possible. Yeah.
The other thing that has taken the demand is pretty high. I got a call last week asking, because that program, it goes worldwide. Okay, people are calling because they want to know about the CMOS program in St. Lucia. They want to buy CMOS. Where are we, or the Department of Fisheries, with that program, with the producers?
Oh wow, CMOS is one of our big success stories, I would say, for any agencies responsible for development. CMOS is one of these that we can highlight some really good models. One of these is we've been able to see exports in that sector, which is very good for the economic development of the people involved. We have been able to see value added opportunities. So the value chain is developing, which is what we want to see as well. You have people being trained and certified. So there's a lot now that we can see, and it's not only government driven, which is again what we want. We want to see the people in the sector empowered and taking it and developing it, with government supporting, providing policies and the environment, etc. So we're seeing that happening, where people are branching out into business opportunities and growing and exporting, etc. So as it stands now, the CMOS industry is doing very well. Some of the challenges that they're experiencing, of course, is additional markets. They're trying to work on that. One of the issues that we had was in terms of the quality, making sure that our practices met the import market standards, which I think we need to be sharing that with our processors a lot, is that when you're looking at exporting, you have to meet the demand or the expectations of the country you are exporting to. And that means you need to upgrade your standards of how you do things. And the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards have been supporting them in that. Export St. Lucia has been supporting as well. Of course, the Department of Fisheries. And so we've seen the support in terms of drying tables, better standards. We actually have a few projects in the pipeline, well, actually ongoing, looking at and where they harvest, where they grow CMOS. Right. Because that was one of the consequences of, well, there's a great market for export, so now everybody wants to get into CMOS, but we have to do that responsibly. We have other stakeholders, other people using the area, so we have to do that. One of the things the department has been working on is looking at technology, where we can look at growing CMOS in deeper water. And we've seen some success with that. We've gotten support under the Coast Fish Project, which is from JICA, Government of Japan funded. And we have a JICA expert here with the Department of Fisheries stationed with us, and he has been working with our team to implement that. So it's growing CMOS on rafts. So it's a new growing method. It's in deeper water, and we've seen a lot of success in Prale and in Pi.
Are you serious?
Yes, and the Choiseul fisher folk have actually taken it on board, and which is one of the great success stories, where the president of the Choiseul fisher folk has championed it. They have people on board that Choiseul, I think it's a PI secondary school. The students are also involved, so there is a collaboration. There's also a partnership with the Prale CMOS Association in terms of purchasing and selling as well. So we see, just by our inputs in terms of the raft style, we've been able to help throughout the entire value chain. So that actual raft design, we're working to improve the technology and to ensure that, because we see some success also in terms of disaster risk reduction. Apparently, we are there. So apparently when there's hurricanes, a lot of our CMOS farmers lose the sticks and they lose their product. But when we had a recent event, a tropical storm event, And what we did an experiment where we lowered the raft right down to the sea floor, and we kept it midway. And there was a lot of success with the one that was sunk right down to the sea floor.
Okay.
So that could be a method where if you're aware that a hurricane or tropical storm event will be coming, you can lower the...
Who developed that?
Yeah, it's actually a technology from the Pacific that is being adapted for St. Lucia.
Wow.
Yes, and these are some other things that have been beneficial because the department had done a exchange with some of our CMOS farmers to the Philippines, and all of these types of activities, learning exchanges, going to other countries, seeing how things are done, helps you bring back information that may not be wholesale, but you can adapt it
to your situation.
So it's quite. It looks very promising. There's been quite a bit of interest in it, and there's a potential for expanding to other sites.
Value added. I know a lot has been done, but do you believe that a lot is being done in a strategic manner, in terms of streamlining, in terms of what the buyers want? I know at one time down in VA4, they had the CMOS powder. Well, in other words, just take a teaspoon, put it in, and then everything is added to it.
Yes.
And I remember a friend of mine came from Martinique, specific for that, and he wanted a container a week.
Wow. Yeah.
Up to now, nothing is being.
Yes.
So I mean, who is working with them or to ensure that there's a processing plant and something is in that regard is looked at?
Incidentally, there is a processing plant. Pralle has a CMOS processing plant. Yes. And that's the partnership they have with the Choiseul fisher folk that they're actually purchasing from them. So they still sort of to purchase from the different farmers and so forth. I think some of the challenges, of course, at the department, our expertise lie more in terms of production methods and harvesting or resource management and being environmentally responsible. There's need, whilst Exports St. Lucia has provided support in terms of export potential and making sure that they meet the market demands from an export perspective. We have the Ministry of Agriculture, we have our research, our quarantine unit that provides support in terms of phytosanitary certificates for export. There's a business development component that I believe as a government we can support greater, particularly from an agriculture endpoint, to see how we can provide that small business development improvement. So I think that's where we're trying to help and bring in sort of donor funding and expertise on that. And that's why we had one with the Taiwanese recently.
Yes. Final words from you?
Not enough time. There's a lot happening in the sector, and I think we probably need to have another session, a part two. But I think what I will end with is indicating to all our fisher interests. That's not only for fisher folk, but people who are producers, the layperson, if they're interested. The department will be launching our Fisher Folk Information Hub, which is a WhatsApp community where we will be sharing information via WhatsApp. I know people don't like too many WhatsApp groups, but it's not going to be, it's only admin, and we will be sharing information. So it's a way for you to know what's happening in the department, in the sector, and keep informed. Yes.
Sarita, thank you very much for being here, and boy, lots of information.
Yes.
A new one. I like the one with the CMOS out there. Very good. Thanks again for being here, and I wish you success moving forward.
Thank you so much.
You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. Thank you for viewing the program. And remember, agriculture and fisheries, our business. And eat fresh. St. Lucia's best. Philip Sidney saying goodbye and see you again.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.